Griffith stunned the political world yesterday when he announced that he's leaving the Democratic Party to join the GOP. The bombshell took members on both sides of the aisle by surprise. Now Democrats say they've been betrayed, but Republicans say this could be a sign that the tides are turning ahead of the 2010 midterm elections. Joining me now from Alabama to explain exactly why he made this difficult decision is the man himself, Congressman Parker Griffith. Congressman, you voted with your party, I think something like 82, 84% of the time while you were in Congress. So what's driven you to make this dramatic leap across the aisle?
Well, that's not Mark. Thanks, by the way, and Merry Christmas. But we really didn't vote 80+% of the time with the Democrats on major issues. On every major issue, I voted against the stimulus, against cap and trade, against the bailout funds, against this health care bill.
Right.
I have watched over the last year a far leaning left-wing party take the Democratic Party so far to the left that most moderate and conservative Democrats can't even recognize it. And as I watched this happen, questioned it, made an effort to show my opposition and the fact that I was against these measures that increased our debt and actually has done very little for our unemployment situation. I found that there's really no one listening, and they didn't care to listen, and their agenda was fixed, and they were on their way off of a left-wing cliff as far as I was concerned. And it's not the America that I envisioned for my grandchildren. And so I had to make a decision. I'm an independent, conservative businessman, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and I didn't find that I had a place in the Democratic Party, so I made the decision. I know many people said, well, but if you look at the major issue, I was voicing my protest each step of the way, explaining my vote, and it was really falling on deaf ears. So I really didn't need to counsel a lot. I made a decision based on a year's worth of experience.
Now, what's the issue here? Obviously, when you look at the leadership of the current Democratic Party in the House, Speaker Pelosi, Barney Frank, they represent districts that are as different from yours as could possibly be, and they seem in effect to be demanding the Democratic congressmen from very different kind of districts sign on to essentially a legislative agenda that suits Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco and Barney Frank's Massachusetts.
Well, they've been able to gerrymander their districts to the point where they really don't have to answer to their constituents because there is no answerable problem there because they all feel the same way in their districts. We who represent mainstream America must take into consideration a lot of other factors. And I'm in the 5th Congressional District. This is the home of the Saturn V that put men on the moon. This is the home of the Redstone Arsenal. We're in charge of Army aviation. We're in charge of missile defense. Everything that the Democratic Party did in this last year was cut missile defense, weaken our national defense, be lukewarm toward manned spaceflight. And these are things that are very important to my district. I felt like...
You're also a physician, though. You're a doctor. Presumably,
yes.
healthcare and what looks likely to emerge from the Senate-House conference, that must have played a factor, too.
Well, the health care bill is a promise that the government can't keep. If we gave everybody a card that said USA Health Care, they still could not see a doctor. They're trying to reform a system around an acute shortage of physicians. It's not going to work. The emergency rooms are going to be as busy as ever, as crowded as ever. We're still going to have a hard time getting Medicare patients seen, Medicaid patients seen. Our pediatricians are full in many of our cities. And we've got to increase the number of medical schools, increase the number of kids that are in our existing medical schools, begin to increase our nursing schools and our pharmacies. Idea that we're...
Whether that should be federally directed is an interesting question. What people have said, though, after what's been happening in the Senate, they look at Ben Nelson and they say, in the end, there are no blue dog Democrats. So when it comes to the big vote, every Democrat is a liberal. Does your abandonment of the Democratic Party, in a sense, confirm that view, that there's no place for so-called blue dog Democrats in this particular party anymore?
Well, I think that's probably right. I think that's what the leadership in the Democratic Party is saying is, you can be here, but you'll not have a place at the table. If you'd like to continue to sit with us, that would be wonderful, but we're really not interested in what you've got to say. The health care bill is a perfect example of that. I think the 2/3 of the American public would like the Congress to stop health care, not do anything else, and start over again on it.
Now, Congressman, as you said, you're pro-life, pro-gun. It's often said that a moderate is someone who's socially liberal but fiscally conservative. But what's happened in this first year of the Obama administration is that the spending is so out of control, as you mentioned, on stimulus and all these other things, that you actually can't support them on that either, putting aside all the social issues.
Well, the spending's out of control, and we know that debt will weaken us quicker than any external enemy. We owe China and Japan 1/3 of our debt. We're becoming a nation that has to go with hat in hand to China or Copenhagen and ask for things. That's not what America's about. That's not what we're about. We believe that the current administration and the current leadership has failed to prioritize what mainstream America thinks is important, and that's jobs. We lost 7.3 million jobs this year, and we were off on a rabbit trail on cap and trade. We were off on a rabbit trail in health care, and we just can't continue that. It's about the kitchen table. It's about a mother and dad raising their children.
And just quickly, Congressman, any of your pals likely to follow you across the aisle, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I know that many of them are very conservative and very concerned about the debt, and I think it has to be a conviction decision. It can't be a decision based on whether you're going to win the next election.
That's
this is
always
about America's
true.
future.
That's always true, Congressman. I love conviction politicians. Don't go anywhere. The Great American Panel is up next on Hannity.